So many of you probably remember the mentor from Assassin's Creed 1, Mualim, right? Yeah, everybody remembers Mualim. Well, apparently there's a theory that he's a sage. I've actually known about this theory for a while. I won't shy away from that because the Mighty Lays has made a video on it, and now I'm gonna go ahead and copy him. Sort of. This video is gonna be its own video. It's not gonna be a copy of anything, I promise. But the question is Mualim a sage? I'm going to probably put my money in the no basket, but hold off. I'm going to first go over the reasons why people might think that he is a sage. Not dissimilar from sages that we have seen that are confirmed to be sages, Mualim has his own agenda within the universe. He doesn't particularly side with the Assassins or Templars, using his role as the mentor of the Assassins as a smokescreen, as he does betray Altair and in turn the rest of the Levantine Brotherhood. For those of you who played the Assassin's Creed games that actually have sages in them, we know that treachery and sages go hand in hand. So Mualim does have a behavioural trait of the sages, which anybody could have that trait. It's called being a dick. Beyond that, we also see Mualim possess an entire town full of assassins and civilians alike and manipulate the Piece of Eden to his own aims. And in that, we actually see him do it with a high level of skill, which suggests that he has actually got a high percentage of first Civ DNA in him, as he's able to properly wield the apple, or at least wield it in some manner. He also seems to be able to do this without any form of fatigue, as we have seen Pieces of Eden cause that effect on people who perhaps don't have the right genes to wield them. So Mualim is dangerous for the Piece of Eden, as he knows what he's doing with it, and he can do it with more than agreeable skill. I also don't think that in the game they touch down on what exactly Mualim actually wants with the Piece of Eden. All we know is Mualim wanted the Piece of Eden for himself, explaining his motive for sending Altair to kill the 9 Templars, and that he wanted to create some form of peace with the Piece of Eden, though I never really cared for his motive, to be honest, nor did I really understand it. But from what I can gather, his motives had nothing to do with the motives of a sage. The next and probably weakest argument are of course Mualim's eyes. Mualim does have a misty eye, but his left eye is brown. Or maybe it's hazel, I don't know. Most sages' left eyes are blue and their right eyes are brown. Now, I am of course going off of how they perceive it, but for us it's their left eye that's brown and their right eye, because we're facing them. You know, it doesn't matter. They're left, we're going off their direction. The point is, Mualim's non-misty eye, if he were a sage, it would probably be blue. Though in fairness, not all sages that we know of, for example Jack de Molay, exhibit heterochromia. Therefore the eye argument is pretty weak. Sages also aren't genetically identical to one another, so it is possible that the heterochromia could be in a different sort of form, so the colours could be different. But we don't know. That misty eye could just be as hazel or brown as the other one. How he became blind in his right eye is still unknown. But considering that he is an assassin, there's always a good chance that he got injured in a fight. Considering that his motives don't align with that of sages later on, and the fact that he doesn't mention anything that sages mention later on about visions or otherwise, I'm beginning to become quite convinced that Mualim is not a sage. Now let's remove ourselves from the Assassin's Creed lore that I've probably butchered horribly and you all hate me for it. When Assassin's Creed 1 was made, I doubt that sages were even thought up. We were introduced to sages in Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. Before that, there is no mention of sages in Assassin's Creed whatsoever. Sages weren't a thing when Assassin's Creed 1 was being made, so I doubt that they intended for Mualim to be a sage. They could easily go ahead and say, oh yeah, Mualim is a sage 100% looking back, but because sages have a specific behavioural pattern in what they do, the visions, the memories, the heterochromia, things that Mualim has none of supposedly. If Ubisoft were to turn around and say, oh yeah, Mualim was a sage, we'd all be like, wait, what? There was no hints to this in the game. And the hints that people are taking from this are actually quite minimal and could easily be bunked off as coincidence, which they are. And Ubisoft aren't typically the ones to think ahead with their stories when they started off. I don't even think they expected Assassin's Creed to get beyond Assassin's Creed 3 back in 2007. If you still believe that Ubisoft are that forward thinking, I'll give you a picture of their CEO. That says nothing, I just wanted to put Yves in there somewhere. My point is, when Assassin's Creed 1 was made, sages weren't planned, they weren't a part of Assassin's Creed canon at all, and were only introduced in Assassin's Creed 4. But considering the coincidences between Mualim and a couple of sages with their double-crossing nature, the backstabbing stuff, the ability to use pieces of Eden, I could go on for a little bit with these coincidences. They could turn around and say, oh yeah, Mualim was a sage. But in Assassin's Creed 1, Mualim expresses his motives as to create a sort of an illusion to end conflict. That's not exactly a sage's mission. So I don't think Ubisoft are going to turn around and say, oh, Mualim was a sage. Though his power when wielding a piece of Eden is very evident, and his anti-hero nature that's presented from right at the very beginning, and also his wisdom, these are all sort of coincidental, I can imagine, because sages seem to have some of these characteristics. So I can understand why people would think Mualim was a sage. With what's presented, he could very well be, but I just simply don't think he is. Though what I call coincidence, you might be able to call evidence, and thus I won't begrudge you of your opinion if you think that Mualim is a sage, but I personally am in the camp that he's not. But the truth is, it's unknown. He could very well be, for all I know. It's not impossible. So, to answer the question, is Mualim a sage? We don't know. We don't know. He might be, he might not. The evidence is there, but there is also evidence to suggest that he's not. But it doesn't really matter what I think. I want to know what you guys think. So, please let me know what you think down in the comments. Do you think Mualim is a sage? Do you think he's not? What do you think? So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Be sure to go ahead, leave a like, subscribe, share, comment, and I'll see you all in the next one with another video. So yes.